Hey everybody, welcome back to Habitat Kitchen. I'm Andrew Beauchamp and I just came in from my garden from harvesting all these beautiful garlic scapes, and we're gonna make garlic scape pesto out of them. For those of you who don't know, garlic scapes are the top of the garlic plant. So whenever they come out of the ground, they have a bunch of leaves down here, and then around this time of year, they send off these beautiful curly stems with a flower head at the top. I got this recipe from a Life Well Planted, and I of course will put the link to the recipe down below. Now let's jump right into this recipe. First thing we're going to do is take all the heads off of all of our garlic. I'm just going to line up a few at a time, and you want to cut it off just right beneath the little bulb. So you'll see in the garlic scape there's that little tiny round piece there. You're not going to want that, so just cut right beneath it. You can find these usually at the farmer's market. You can totally find them. If you want to grow them yourself, all you have to do is plant garlic bulbs in the fall, and you just have to make sure that they are hard neck garlic and not soft neck. And from this, I'm just going to cut these into about inch pieces. They will be thrown into a food processor, so you don't have to worry about making sure that they're too accurate, because they are going to be turned into a paste by the end of this recipe. If you are getting your scapes from the farmer's market, after you're done cutting them into your about 1 inch pieces, it is suggested in the recipe to steam them if they're a bit older. These are fresh from my garden, so I'm not going to bother doing that. I'm just going to cut these into more or less 1 inch pieces. There we go. And this recipe only calls for about 10 to 15 garlic scapes. I opted for the 15 myself, being a huge fan of garlic. I'm just going to place these to the side. Now, a very important part to any pesto is the nuttiness. Actually, pine nuts is what I'm going to use for my nuttiness, and I think they're kind of the best option. But there's a downside: they are very expensive. If you don't want to blow the bank on buying them, you can totally just use walnuts of the same amount, just using 1/4 cup. And right now I'm just going to toast these up. So into a dry skillet, I'm just going to toss these in, and this will go pretty darn fast. So you're going to want to stay next to your pan, just stirring them. I'm going to turn the heat up a tiny bit, just so we're toasting the nuts, getting those oils out, and bringing out all that delicious flavor. These are looking quite toasted. They're starting to get brown on some sides. So I'm just going to put these on the plate, take them off the heat. Put them... Good machine. They're all nicely toasted. Their oils have come out. They've got a nice little roasted flavor to them now, which is going to add a lot to our pesto. Now, while those are cooling, I'm going to set up the food processor, because that's where we're going to assemble our pesto. If you don't have a food processor, in the recipe it's also suggested you can use a blender or even a magic bullet, but of course if you're using that, you will have to turn it over, screw off the cap, and scrape down the sides just to make sure that it's fully getting combined. Now that I have my food processor all set up and on, I'm going to add my garlic scapes. It's about 1 cup that you need in the end, but if you have a little more, throw them in. It's not going to hurt. I'm going to add the delicious pine nuts right in there. Add the seasoning, which is some Himalayan pink sea salt, some red chili flakes, and a little bit of freshly cracked black pepper. Right in there, mix it around, try to get all that in. A little spoon here. Beautiful. Gonna add a little bit of water just to help it all come together. And to add some really nice kind of zingy and freshness, just some lemon juice. Freshly squeezed. Don't you dare use any sort of plastic container, store-bought, pre-made juice for that, because It's not the same. Just not the same. And we're just gonna pulse this. Pulse this for about 3 minutes until it comes together. And then afterwards, we're gonna place it into this bowl and mix in some oil. So, pulse. And for this reason, I have a little spatula here. You can also use a giant one or a spoon, whatever you can get, just to flick everything back in. It smells so good. I love the smell of garlic. Back on. Let's see how it looks. That looks pretty smooth. Look at that, guys. So let's just pour our lovely pesto into our mixing bowl. Before I continue with the pesto, I'm gonna quickly clean this up. Okay, I'm back. Now, all I'm gonna do to our bowl of pesto is add in our last ingredient, which is just some oil, extra virgin olive oil, or just virgin olive oil is fine too. So just pour it in, that to the side, and I'm just gonna mix this until it's all combined. Oh my God. This smells amazing. Look how pretty it is too. Now there are so many ways you can use pesto. You can use it in sandwiches and marinades. You can do what we're gonna do today, which is tossing it with some freshly cooked pasta. So I'm gonna go quickly cook my pasta, come right back, mix it together, and we're gonna give this pesto a taste. And now I'm just gonna toss in some of our pesto. About half. Then I'm gonna taste it, and if it needs more, I'll put a little more. Once it hits the hot pasta, it smells amazing. This is beautifully coated, so I'm just going to get myself a bowl and let's try it. Come back. Okay. Let's take a bite, guys. That is delicious. It's so fresh. It's like a burst of garlicky flavor. But I wasn't expecting it to be that light and airy. And then you get the nice kind of the fats from the nuts and the oil, which make it super silky. You might have noticed that there is no cheese in this recipe. This recipe is vegan. If you'd like to add about 1/4 cup of Parmesan, you totally can. Or if you're vegan and you want some cheesiness, the best way to go about that is to use nutritional yeast, about 2 tablespoons, and then add in about a tablespoon of rice wine vinegar and about just a teaspoon of white sugar. Not to the pasta, but to your actual pesto. And that will give you some cheesiness. The vinegar and the sugar will actually kind of make a mock lactose acid, the same thing that's in cheese. And then the nutritional yeast will give you that nice cheesiness flavor. I think this is good without it. This is delicious, and not to mention, these garlic scapes came from my garden, and this is one of the first things that I've harvested this year. So I'm happy I can share that with you guys, because it's really exciting. Thank you guys for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Until next time, stay hungry, guys.